I'll never forget the night I stumbled upon the dark web. I was 17, bored and curious, scrolling through some obscure forums on my laptop. Someone had mentioned a website that was only accessible through a Tor browser, and I had to see it for myself. I downloaded the browser, and with a mix of excitement and trepidation, I typed in the address. I had heard stories about the things you could find on the dark web, but nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to see. At first, it was just a bunch of weird and disturbing content. I saw things that I couldn't unsee, things that made me question the sanity of the people who posted them. But I was hooked. I couldn't look away. I kept scrolling, deeper and deeper into the abyss. That's when I saw it. A forum thread titled, "The Red Room." I had heard rumors about this place, how it was a hub for the most depraved and twisted individuals on the internet. I shouldn't have clicked on it, but I did. The thread was filled with cryptic messages and codes, but one post caught my eye. It was an invitation to a live streaming event where something special was going to happen. The post was signed with a single username, the administrator. I don't know what possessed me, but I decided to join the stream. The darkness of my room seemed to seep into my bones as I clicked on the link. The stream started, and I was met with a black screen. Suddenly a figure appeared, shrouded in shadows. A distorted voice started talking, welcoming us to the Red Room. The voice belonged to the administrator, a figure who seemed to be in control of the entire operation. He explained that we were about to witness something that would change us forever. He was wearing a mask and stood in a dimly lit room with a single spotlight shining down on a figure tied to a chair. The figure was a young man, probably in his 30s, with a look of terror in his eyes. The administrator started to taunt the man, saying that he was going to be the star of the show. I tried to leave, but my cursor wouldn't move. It was like they've accessed my laptop somehow and enabled my mouse. I was frozen in horror. The administrator explained the rules of the game, which were simple. The audience would be given a series of options to choose from, and the option with the highest bid would be carried out. It began with options like spanking and slapping the face. I thought to myself, this is sick, but it's not that bad. I mean, it's not like they were going to kill the guy or anything. But as the rounds went on, the options became more and more brutal. The audience was bidding on things like whipping, burning, and mutilation. I saw things that no human should ever see. The young man on the screen was subjected to unspeakable torture, and I was forced to watch. But the worst part was, in every round, there was the option, end this round. I thought it meant just that, end the round and move on to something else. But as the game went on, I realized that nobody was voting for that option. It was as if they were all waiting for something more, something worse. I was starting to feel a sense of unease, a feeling that something was very wrong. The audience seemed to be enjoying the show, bidding higher and higher with each round. I was horrified. I couldn't look away no matter how much I wanted to. It was like watching a car crash. You know it's going to be bad, but you can't help but stare. The young man's screams and pleas for mercy were like music to the audience's ears, and they seemed to be feeding off his fear. I felt like I was trapped in a nightmare, unable to wake up. As the rounds went on, the young man's face became more and more distorted. He was screaming, begging for mercy, but nobody seemed to care. The audience was too busy bidding on the next option, the next form of torture. The administrator was laughing, enjoying the suffering of the poor soul. I was starting to feel like I was going to be sick, my stomach churning with disgust. And then, after what felt like an eternity, it happened. The option, end the game, got the highest bid. The administrator seemed disappointed that the game was over so fast, but I was relieved. I thought to myself, finally this is over. They're going to let the guy go. But then, another option window appeared. This time, There were no options for torture. Instead, there were options for killing methods. Slicing the throat, strangulation, stabbing, waterboarding. The list went on and on. It was then that I realized what end the game really meant. It meant ending the person's life. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me as I realized what I had been watching. I had been watching a snuff film, a film where the goal was to kill the person on screen. I couldn't believe it. I had stumbled upon something that was truly evil, something that I couldn't even begin to comprehend. The audience was bidding on the young man's life, and I was a spectator, unable to do anything to stop it. As I watched the bids get higher and higher, I knew I had to get out of there. I couldn't watch anymore. I closed my laptop, feeling like I had just witnessed something that would haunt me for the rest of my life. I stared at the wall, trying to process what I had just seen. I felt like I had been a part of something evil, something that I could never take back. I swore to myself to never return to the dark web again. But the experience haunted me. I started to have nightmares, and I would wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat. I felt like I was being watched, like the administrator was still out there, waiting for me. That's when I decided to post about it on Reddit. I needed to talk to someone, anyone, about what I had seen. I needed to know that I wasn't alone, that there were others out there who could understand what I was going through. I created a new account, using a pseudonym to protect my identity. I didn't want anyone to know who I was or what I had seen. I was afraid of being tracked down, of being silenced. As I wrote my post, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. I was finally talking about it, finally sharing my secret with the world. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew I had to try. I posted my story, and then I waited. I waited for responses, for comments, for anything. And as I waited, I couldn't help but think about the young man who had been tortured and killed on screen. I thought about the audience, the people who had bid on his death. And I thought about the administrator, the person who had controlled the entire operation. Who were these people? What kind of monsters were they? And how could they do such a thing? I didn't have any answers, but I knew I had to keep searching. I had to keep talking about it, keep sharing my story with the world. The thought of those people, the audience and the administrator still out there, still operating in the dark, was terrifying. I knew I had to do something to stop them. The hours ticked by, and I started to feel a sense of anxiety. What if nobody responded to my post? What if I was truly alone in this? But then the comments started rolling in. People were responding, sharing their own stories and experiences. Some were supportive, offering words of comfort and encouragement. Others were skeptical, questioning the validity of my story, but I didn't care. I was just glad that anyone was listening. As I read through the comments, I started to feel a sense of hope. Maybe I could make a difference. Maybe I could help bring these people to justice, or at least raise awareness about the existence of such evil. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was determined to try. I would keep sharing my story, keep talking about it, until someone listened, until someone did something. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months. I continued to post about my experience, sharing my story with anyone who would listen. And slowly but surely, people started to take notice. The post went viral, and I started to receive messages from all over the world. People were reaching out, offering support and encouragement. Some were even offering to help, to investigate and bring the perpetrators to justice. I was amazed and grateful for the outpouring of support. I had never felt so seen, so heard. Together we could do something. Together we could bring these people to justice and put an end to their evil games. But then, one night, I received a message on my laptop. It was from the administrator, He was warning me to forget what I had seen, warning me to stop talking about the Red Room, or my family would pay for it. Attached to the message was a photo of my mom and me at her house. I was trembling. This wasn't just a random photo he took from social media. It was shot from a weird angle, like someone was hiding outside the house. And the clothes were the exact same clothes we was wearing last weekend to celebrate my mom's birthday. I started to realize that the people behind the Red Room were powerful, and they would stop at nothing to keep their secrets safe. They would silence anyone who got too close, anyone who threatened to expose them. And I was no exception. I knew then that I had to get rid of my laptop. I took it to a thrift store and donated it. I thought that would be the end of it, but it wasn't. A few days later, I received a package in the mail. Inside, I found a DVD with a single label, The Red Room. I knew then that I was in grave danger. The administrator was coming for me. I haven't slept in weeks. I'm always looking over my shoulder, waiting for him to appear. I know that I'll never be able to escape the darkness that I unleashed that night. The Red Room has consumed me, and I'll never be the same again.